It's Tuesday, December 29th, and the time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Government is leaving no stone unturned in the fight to contain the spread of the COVID-19 virus, even as Barbadians prepare to ring in the new year. And Attorney General Dale Marshall has announced new protocols that will take effect from December 30th until January 6th next year that place more stringent limits on all gatherings, including parties, pleasure cruises, and outings at the beach. The new limited COVID-19 directive follows weeks of what has been described as reckless behavior involving locals and tourists, which intensified over the Christmas and Boxing Day weekend.
Any person who wishes to host an event which will cater for more than 150 people must first seek the permission of the protocol unit. Now, that figure has changed over the years. Over the months. We were at 250, we were at 500. But given what we are seeing now, we feel it is important to tighten those particular screws. So the new number is 150 persons for that period, 30th December to 6th January. Individuals who have already been given permission under the existing COVID Directive number 4, well, there's nothing that we can do about that. But let me say that the existing COVID Directive number 4 puts a strong burden on individuals hosting events to ensure that all of the participants follow the protocols, sanitize, wearing of masks, and physical distancing. And in addition to that, where those establishments do not ensure that their patrons comply, then the COVID unit already has the power to shut them down.
As part of the new measures, a joint task force has also been established, which includes the Barbados Defence Force, the Royal Barbados Police Force, and the COVID-19 Monitoring Unit to man both land and sea.
Because of the large number of events that we expect to happen over the next few days, it will be important to make sure that the members of the Royal Barbados Police Force receives the augmented support of the Barbados Defence Force. This is not uncommon. They already do it at Crapova. So I know it may seem a little bit of an unusual thing to say it on New Year's night, but there's simply too much at stake. And therefore, we will have a heightened set of joint patrols consisting of the Royal Barbados Police Force, led at all times by senior officers and supported by the BDF. Let me say too that the pleasure cruises, and you will have seen a lot of social media chatter about crowded vessels and so on, and we anticipate that some of this may be what people expect over the next few days. So for the first time, we are requiring, as a matter of law, that pleasure cruises must first seek the permission of the COVID unit. And the COVID unit will not just be saying yes or no, they will determine the maximum number of guests that a cruise can accommodate following their set criteria, and also stipulate any conditions that may be necessary.
The AG also disclosed that local establishments will be subjected to a two-strike rule that will result in a total shutdown of an event.
So we're prepared to allow, not even to allow, we're prepared to accept that we will warn you once and we will warn you twice. But if the misconduct, if the failure to follow protocols persists, we will simply be shutting down all events that are in breach. So we're talking about pleasure craft on sea and festivities on land. We're also concerned about the congregating of large numbers of Barbadians, especially on our beaches and so on. And we know that a lot of Barbadians, this is a difficult economic time, and a lot of Barbadians are likely to go to view fireworks and things of that sort. And we feel that we have to put a damper on that, and therefore this current directive will stipulate that no group visiting a beach, and we may consider extending that to parks, we're working through that particular at this point in time, will be able to exceed 50 people, and that they must observe the physical distancing protocols unless they're members of the same household.
Former Government Minister Donville Innis, who was convicted of money laundering in the ICBL affair, says he's not paying much attention to the news that the U.S. is seeking to have his alleged co-conspirator Alex Tasker extradited to face the same charges. Innis continues to maintain his innocence even as he awaits sentencing in 4 months' time. He was convicted in a U.S. federal court on January 16th of money laundering, conspiracy, and 2 counts of money laundering related to bribe payments received from ICBL in order to secure government contracts. When asked to comment on Tasker's appearance in court yesterday to face the extradition charge, Innis told Barbados Today he was focused on proving his innocence and was not distracted by court issues in Barbados in which he was not a defendant. Pig farmers are reporting improved sales during the last quarter of 2020 and in particular for this month. President of the Barbados Association of Pig Farmers, Henderson Williams, says while farmers counted thousands of dollars in losses earlier this year due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, residents resumed purchasing pork when the lockdown was lifted and continued for the Yuletide season.
The issue that we had with COVID kind of worked itself out because as long as the places opened back up, although we didn't see the level of return in relation to the level of tourists, if you look at the amount of slaughters in the various facilities, you would recognize that they're not very far off from what they were last year. September, October, November's numbers were pretty much on par with the rates that we had in 2019. So if you look at that as an indication of what is going on in the market, it means that, there's still a level of demand.
However, he told Barbados Today it was difficult to give exact statistics on sales at this time, given that the year is not yet over.
We would have to wait until we get the statistics in terms of the numbers. Because Barbadians are still buying pork. They're going to buy all the way up to, all years into the new year, because parties and events will be taking place. Maybe not with the number of individuals, but certainly that is still going to be happening.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To developments in the region, the Ministry of Education in Grenada announced that schools will not be reopening on January 4 to start the second term as planned due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a move that the island's Union of Teachers has welcomed. The details of that story from GBN News.
In a circular released on Monday, 28th December, the Ministry of Education, acting on the advice of the Ministry of Health, informed educational institutions and related parties of the development. The circular said within the week commencing the 4th of January 2021, officers of the ministry will seek to engage managers, principals, teachers and other key personnel to discuss plans for the new term. President of the Grenada Union of Teachers, Marvin Andel, says they welcome the news as he believes the health and safety of the students come first.
The Grenada Union of Teachers and its members believes that at this point, the only correct thing that can be done is to delay the reopening of school. We can have the engagement of students and teachers in teaching and learning, but it cannot at this point be done in the classroom, considering the number of cases that are currently recorded.
He says he looks forward to hearing from the Ministry of Education next week in an effort to resume the school year in a timely manner.
The leadership of the ministry gave us the understanding that next week stakeholders will be engaged as to how we go forward with the continuing education. And we expect that it will happen early next week. And of course, the public and all others will be informed about it.
And finally, the United Nations Secretary General has described 2020 as a year of trials, tragedies, and tears, and made an appeal for making 2021 a year of healing. In his New Year message, Antonio Guterres explained that the COVID-19 virus has upended lives and plunged the world in suffering and grief as the pandemic rages on.
Jobs are disappearing and debts are mounting. Children are struggling. Violence in the home is increasing and insecurity is everywhere. But the new year lies ahead, and with it we see rays of hope. People extending a helping hand to neighbors and strangers. Frontline workers giving their all. Scientists developing vaccines in record time. Countries making new commitments to prevent climate catastrophe. If we work together in unity and solidarity, these rays of hope can reach around the world. That's the lesson of this most difficult year. Both climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic are crises that can only be addressed by everyone together as part of a transition to an inclusive and sustainable future. The central ambition of the United Nations for 2021 is to build a global coalition for carbon neutrality, net zero emissions by 2050. Every government, city, business and individual can play a part in achieving this vision. Together, let's make peace among ourselves and with nature, tackle the climate crisis, stop the spread of COVID-19 and make 2021 a year of healing.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.